Happy Monday, every guys. It's Matthew here, your friendly neighborhood DM. Hope you all had a good weekend. In this video, I just want to briefly go over challenge rating. This is something particularly important for DMs, but also certain player character builds, particularly for druids and their wild shape, because based on your level is what level of challenge rating creature you are able to transform into as a druid. But going back mostly to stuff for DMs, here we have up on the Dungeon Master's Guide. Again, this is through D Beyond, Chapter 3, creating encounters. Just 1 second. I have something on the stove. This is the joy of being live while you're cooking breakfast. 1 second. All right, as I said, we're looking at Chapter 3 of the Dungeon Master's Guide. In Chapter 3, section on creating encounters, it talks about combat encounter difficulty, and it goes into just briefly a description of easy, medium, hard, deadly. Those are generally the words used for an encounter. Well, what is the metric used for that? So you can base it on XP. You know, XP that a given monster gives is in the stat block for that monster. And we'll go over that a little bit actually in the next video that I'm going to be posting today. And you can see here, easy, medium, hard, deadly. For a first level, 100 XP in a combat situation is considered deadly. And then that goes a little into challenge rating, which is the main focus of what we're talking about. I'll just read through that real quick. When putting together an encounter for adventure, especially at lower levels, exercise caution when using monsters whose challenge rating is higher than the party's average level. Such a creature might deal enough damage with a single action to take out adventurers of a low level. For example, an ogre has a challenge rating of 2, but it can kill a level 1 wizard with a single blow. In addition, some monsters have features that might be difficult or impossible for low-level creatures to overcome. For example, Rakshasa has a challenge rating of 13 and is immune to spells of 6 or lower level. Spellcasters of 12th level or lower have no spells higher than 6th level, meaning that they won't be able to affect the Rakshasa with their magic, putting the adventurers at a serious disadvantage. Such an encounter would be significantly tougher for a party than the monster's challenge rating might suggest. So briefly, just what that means. Challenge rating is flawed, and they're kind of admitting to it here, in my opinion, because they're saying, hey, use challenge rating, but really think about it, because you don't want to put something that can kill things with a single hit in your adventure party, and things might have abilities that can completely negate the effectivity of members of your team. Well, we've got to figure out how to take that into account, Wizards of the Coast. But I digress, because they're clearly smarter than me. And I'm sure if they could, they would. And I guess it's just become so complicated that there's no one answer. So gotcha. Determining XP thresholds, determining parties' XP threshold, because characters' XP threshold is going to be different than the party's total, and how they synchronize with each other. That's key. Also, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room very briefly. Fifth edition. We're currently on 5th edition for all the people out there who are new to D&D. Meaning there was quite a few editions before this. And as each edition goes on, there's something called power creep, which means the subclasses that are put out in this case and the races that are put out are stronger than the original races and classes in the Player's Handbook. That's just a fact. No one would argue that who actually really looks into this. And I'm sure Wizards of the Coast knows it and would admit it themselves. Power creep is real. So you can't use a mechanism like challenge rating that was created at the beginning of 5th edition. You can't expect that to still be valid and still be as accurate now, almost 10 years later. That's just not going to work. So what do I do? Well, I kind of go into things individually. I know what group I'm playing with. I go, okay, who has the lowest HP? Well, the wizard. So let's just say it's a 3rd level group and the wizard has 12 HP. Well, I'm going to make sure that no creature that I put up against them does more than 6 damage. So if I'm looking through monsters to put up against my players and I see one I like and I see that it does 8 damage, I either A, don't use it, or B, just make it do 6 damage, especially if it's that close. If I see one that does 20 damage, I'm probably not going to use it because that's not going to work. So that's the first thing. Second thing, and it kind of went into that a little bit too, abilities, legendary actions, legendary reactions. You've got to, especially at lower levels, kind of what it said, make sure that none of these abilities completely take any of your players out of the fight. Because one, that's not fun for them. 2, that's effectively, instead of one monster, let's just say, versus 4 characters, well, if that monster has the ability to take one character out of the fight because of its, whatever ability it has, it's now 1 monster versus 3 characters, and that's completely different. So one of the things that is available online just one second. Is this handy Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition encounter calculator. This you can use to determine CR rating and encounter difficulty. I use it. I live and die by it, but I use it to get a general idea of what ranking the encounter I just put in. So let's just say, and I use CR. So you've got 3 CR2 monsters against 4 level 3 characters. Calculate. That's considered deadly. And it does all the calculations that the DMG and Xanathars will show you how to do. But this does it for you, which is great. Because it talks about, okay, based on the number of characters and the character level, this is what easy, medium, hard, and difficult and deadly would be. Boom. Well, it adds up 3 CR2 characters. XP reward, 1,300. Boom, boom, boom. Difficulty modifier, it's going to put it 2,700 XP, which puts it firmly into deadly. So let's not change the characters. Let's change the monsters. So let's say we only have 2 CR2 monsters. Well, now it's hard. And maybe that's okay. It's okay. It's good to have hard difficulty encounters. So 2 CR2 monsters. Maybe that's the end of the session. I wouldn't make every single encounter in a session hard. That's not good. That's because players also enjoy completely one-sided fights. Sometimes you want to fight. It's going to sound weird, but sometimes players just want to be able to wreck things. They get into a bar fight with a bunch of, people who don't understand they're fighting adventurers. And, that can be fun for a team of player characters. So make sure you mix it up. So not all of them should be hard. Not all of them should be easy either. Most of them should be medium. So that's kind of how I use CR rating. I use it. I listen to it, but I don't take it as gospel. And I don't think anyone really does, and I don't think it's meant to, because it says 4 characters at 3rd level. It does not take into account what subclass they have, or what abilities they have, or what feats they have, or what magic items they have. And you're allowed to kind of change things on the fly, guys. So that's CR rating in a very brief summary. I hope you guys have a good week, and I will see you soon. Again, good luck, adventurers.